As Guyana bids farewell to Ghanaian head of state Nana Akufo-Addo, preparations begin for an official visit of the Cuban Foreign Affairs Minister. These stories and more in today's news. It's Wednesday, June 12. After 2 days of floral tributes, bilateral talks, a luncheon in his honor, and the conferral of Ghana's highest national award, the Order of Excellence, Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo this morning bid farewell to Guyana.
His private plane departed the Cheddi Jagan International Airport at approximately 9:45 a.m.
The state visit of His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo ends today.
This followed a full military hail afforded to a visiting head of state and a dear friend and brother, as stated just the day before by His Excellency President David Granger. As his visit came to an end, President Akufo-Addo outlined some areas his country would support Guyana. He did so while meeting with the local Ghanaian diaspora on Tuesday evening.
So I've had an opportunity to talk to the President to see how we can all cooperate together, and for you to be able to have an opportunity to learn from what we have been doing in Ghana, so that the do's and don'ts become clearer for you and help you build a robust and stronger system for dealing with these problems. There are other areas of cooperation that we want to undertake in education, in transportation, a direct link between Accra and Georgetown.
Earlier on Tuesday, following bilateral talks with President Granger at State House, bilateral agreements covering several areas of mutual interest were signed.
From the Cheddi Jagan International Airport, Felicia Valenzuela, InfoHub.
The Republic of Ghana has committed to the development of Guyana's oil and gas sector. This was among areas highlighted in the bilateral agreement signed between the two nations on Tuesday.
Ghana has been producing oil commercially since 2010, and given its experience, it can help ensure that Guyana's emerging sector is managed effectively. Ghana's oil production is set to substantially go up as it made a new discovery of large oil deposits in the western region. The country currently produces 200,000 barrels of oil per day, and the new oil field would add another 200 barrels daily by 2021. During his state visit, Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo urged that strategic relations are formed to this end.
We should explore promptly the possibility of establishing a joint vehicle to assist in the effective initial management of oil and gas revenues. With our experiences, I believe Ghana is well equipped to share with you the do's and don'ts in the area and make available fee-free, quality technical assistance to you.
Director General of the Ministry of the Presidency, Joseph Harmon, told the media that Ghana made a very clear offer to assist Guyana with technical cooperation and the personnel to develop the oil and gas sector.
So this is very important to us because what they did was to commit to pay the salaries, the transportation and everything to get the people here, and all we will need to do is to find accommodation for them. So I think this was a very clear commitment on the part of the Ghanaians to the development of our oil and gas sector.
He added that focus was also placed on the capacity of the Department of Energy and the ultimate establishment of a Ministry of Energy. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
Fresh out of a state visit from Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo, Ghana is set to host Cuba's Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Bruno Rodriguez Parilla, on an official visit as part of his Caribbean tour.
The minister is set to arrive in Guyana for the first time on Thursday for a number of engagements. During his stay, the minister is expected to engage in a number of activities, including the 6th meeting of Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the Caribbean Community and Cuba at the Arthur Chung Conference Center. There will be an official opening ceremony for the meeting where the CARICOM Secretary General Erwin LaRocque, Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Karen Cummings, and the Cuban Foreign Affairs Minister are expected to deliver remarks. He's also expected to pay a visit to the Regional Training Center to stimulate the development of children, adolescents, and young people with special education needs associated with disabilities. The center was conceptualized at the 2014 Cuba CARICOM Summit with a vision of training persons to be prepared to manage persons with disabilities at any place in Guyana and the Caribbean region. Cuba and Guyana have enjoyed international relations since December 1972. Most recently, talks on migration have been at the forefront of discussions, with the Cuban government requesting the abolishment of the non-visa requirement for Cuban nationals in Guyana. Reporting for InfoHub, Nikosi Bruce.
Guyana and Cuba have shared over 4 decades of diplomatic relations. The commitment to each other continues with remarkable progress in all areas of development.
Diplomatic relations between Guyana and Cuba span 46 years. Guyana's national development, particularly in the fields of education, culture, and health, has benefited immeasurably from Cuba's cooperation and contribution over the decades. Cuba's Vice Foreign Minister, Regilio Sierra Diaz, described the closely knit relationship between the two countries as positive.
In our assessment, the relationship between the two countries is very positive. These are very close relationships that have reached great maturity throughout the years and which are characterized by mutual cooperation and mutual respect and trust between our two nations.
The cooperation between the two countries is high-ranking. It ranges from the long-standing Cuba-Guyana medical program to the increase in trade. The first batch of Cuban-trained Guyanese doctors returned home 43 years ago. Today, the program continues. Hundreds of Cuban medical specialists work at institutions in 8 regions across Guyana. Cuba continues to provide a large number of scholarships in the fields of agriculture and engineering to Guyanese students and young professionals. The signing of an agreement for the export of Guyana's rice to Cuba and the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Georgetown Chambers of Commerce and the Chambers of Commerce of the Republic of Cuba have set the stage for increased trade and collaboration between the two states. President David Granger said that this level of cooperation is vital to advancing Guyana's green agenda and overall economic development, declaring that Guyana will continue to stand in solidarity with Cuba. For InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
Still to come, 2017-2018 Trafficking in Persons Action Plan yields 17 charges and 3 convictions. And Guyana observes World Day Against Child Labor with an awareness session. Details of these stories and more after the break. Stay with us.
Are you ready to embark on a truly epic adventure to an undiscovered corner of South America, where some of the most spectacular natural attractions are unveiled within a beautifully diverse landscape? From the wetlands and savannas to the ancient mountains, magnificent waterways and lush enriching rainforest would provide a vast playground for some of the most exotic and breathtaking creatures on the planet, including many of the world's giant species. This untouched land of mystery and wonder serves up an exclusive experience for travelers. So are you ready for a new, awe-inspiring adventure? Welcome back to nature. Welcome to Guyana.
Welcome back. Minister of Public Security Kemraj Ramjatan today reflected on the successes of the 2017-2018 Trafficking in Persons Action Plan as the 2019-2020 plan is launched.
We have managed to investigate and prosecute. 17 individuals were charged. We had 3 convictions for trafficking in persons, and we had another 3 convicted for other crimes arising from trafficking in persons investigations.
Minister Ramjatan was at the time making remarks at the launch of the 2019-2020 Plan of Action for the Prevention and Response to Trafficking in Persons. The minister said, despite the challenges, the government is taking the necessary steps to fight against this form of modern-day slavery.
I am hoping that this year and this following plan, 2019-2020, that we're going to have more investigations, more charges, and more convictions.
Collaboration between local and international agencies is credited for the success of the action plan.
We cannot win the battle alone at a law enforcement agency. It's never going to be won. There are going to be limitations in relation to law enforcement. But when we can have a variety of individual agencies locally and internationally, we think, of course, success will be at hand.
Guyana has managed to maintain its Tier 1 status in trafficking in persons. Awareness sessions and training, along with implementing the recommendations from the U.S. Department of State's Trafficking in Persons Report for 2017, will all be ramped up through the Plan of Action. Minister Ramjatan expressed confidence that the new Plan of Action will continue to crack down on the crime. Kippany Jordan, InfoHub.
The Ministry of Social Protection's Department of Labor and the Ministry of Education today observed World Day Against Child Labor with an awareness session hosted at the Durban Park, which saw more than 40 students participating.
Senior Welfare Officer of the Ministry of Education, Anika Pearson, described child labor as a global phenomenon which robs children of their right to a sound education. It is against this backdrop and in observance of World Day Against Child Labor that the awareness session was hosted.
According to the International Labour Organization, who is celebrating 100 years of advancing social justice and promoting decent work, although child labor occurs in almost every sector, 7 out of every 10 of these children are working in agriculture. As such, their potential of becoming productive and successful adults is hindered.
Pearson explained that children or adolescents participating in work that does not affect their health and personal development or interfere with them receiving quality education, such as doing household chores, is generally regarded as positive. Minister within the Ministry of Social Protection with responsibility for labor, Keith Scott, said every child deserves the right to grow.
A lot of evil things have been done to children that have been used for child labor. First of all, big people take them and use them so that they can have increased profits. So the greed factor, they are very greedy, and that greed factor is what influences them in one way or other to make sure that they get from you cheap labor. Our country has a history of fighting against any form of exploitation. Anytime labor is involved, and anytime labor has to be used either from children or from forced situations, our country has always fought against it.
The minister urged the students to stay in school in order to reach their full potential. InfoHub spoke to a few of the students at the awareness session.
I believe that children under the age of 18 should not be forced to work in labor, but they should be able to follow their dreams and study to be what they want to become in society.
I'm sending the children to school so that they could get better education and better dreams.
Certificates were presented to students of the Kingston Secondary School for punctuality and their participation at the awareness exercise. For InfoHub, Ayana George.
50 youths from across the 10 administrative regions graduated from a 2-week leadership program at the Madawini Training Center.
The Department of Social Cohesion, Culture, Youth and Sport is currently preparing youths to take the role of leadership through a leadership program. 50 youths recently graduated from the Module 2 program, which prepares participants for decision-making, problem-solving, financial management, psychology and mental health, among other areas. Manager of Youth Empowerment, Department of Social Cohesion, Fayon Marshall, said the program was in the pipeline since 2015, but kicked off in 2016 after it was realized that persons who were in existing youth organizations did not possess the requisite leadership skills.
After we would have trained them, we had a couple of persons, and we have another program which is the Youth night school, catering for persons who would have dropped out of school, who didn't have the opportunity to write CXC, and those persons who would have established youth organizations. We utilize their services to manage the night schools that we have right across the regions.
Marshall added that the participants had the opportunity to be a part of the annual United Nations conference as youth ambassadors to apply leadership in every aspect. InfoHub spoke to a few of the graduates.
The program was very intense. We had a lot of work. There was a debate, which we totally enjoyed. We learned a lot from that. So yeah, it was a lot of work and very, very intense.
This was my first time debating, and it helped me a lot. It motivated me. My first module, compared from then to now, I have been more bolder. I been able to speak in public. Before, you could ask me to go in front of the camera. I said, I could.
The students also commended the initiative, which falls under the Ministry of the Presidency, and requested a larger program during the August school break. For InfoHub, Ayana George.
That's all for today. Connect with us on WhatsApp, Facebook, and YouTube. Much more news is on our website, dpi.gov.gy, and pop over to Instagram for the latest photo updates at DPI Guyana. Your bridge and weather reports are up next. Goodbye.